Pennsylvania's state system of higher education. 14 universities, infinite opportunities. This week, we'll learn about the importance of the liberal arts programs offered at universities throughout the state system. But first, we'll hear from Diane Zimmerman Umble, the Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences at Millersville University.
Hello, I'm Frank Brogan, the Chancellor of Pennsylvania's State System of Higher Education, and welcome to our program, Infinite Opportunities. This is a chance for all of us associated with our system to talk to you about our 14 wonderful universities and the great work being done every day with faculty, staff, and over 100,000 undergraduate and graduate students who are all going to go on to make Pennsylvania a great place in which to live for all of us. Today, we're very, very pleased to have a special guest from Millersville University. She's an expert in the area of liberal arts education. That is probably one of the most misunderstood parts of the higher education experience, and hopefully she's going to help clarify some of that for us today. We're delighted to have with us Dr. Diane Zimmerman Umble, who is Professor of Communication, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities and Social Science, and a member of the Millersville family since 1989. Welcome, Diane. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I'd like to start the conversation a little bit where I left off in the preamble as to what is liberal arts education. I said it was oftentimes misunderstood. I believe that from my time in higher education. How about giving us a primer on what is liberal arts education?
Well, I do think it's a misunderstood term because we often tend to associate it with a particular political ideology, at least in the American context. But it really has a very old and established meaning, and it really has come from the term in the Latin, liberal, which means the skills necessary to be a free human being. And it grew out of the Greeks and the Romans and those who were very concerned about giving their citizens the skills to be engaged and informed about the decisions that their democracies, their countries, their societies needed to make. So the idea of liberal is those are the skills that a citizen needs to be involved and engaged in helping to guide the decisions of his or her society. So that's what liberal education means from kind of the long, long history. In the American context, it has also been used very much to speak to what are the skills that an engaged citizen needs to have. But even more so in the contemporary scene, it's really about what is it that an individual needs to be contributing in the workplace. So we talk about those liberal arts education foundational skills that enable people to be free, decisive, informed citizens. And we can talk a little bit more about what those things might look like.
No, that's a great answer, and it helps to clarify, I hope, for our viewers a little bit more about what is liberal arts. Oftentimes, people confuse the word liberal in this text with a political ideology that has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do, as you mentioned, with acquiring the skills to be a successful citizen of the world once graduated. I'd like to talk a little bit more about those skills. You're an expert in this field. When a student graduates with a liberal arts background, or even in an area of major degree that's not technically liberal arts, but have taken liberal arts courses, what are some of those skills that you expect a student to leave us with?
In a typical undergraduate degree, about a third of the coursework that they take is really focused on these foundational skills. And ultimately what we want students to graduate with are the ability to speak and write clearly. So most undergraduate degrees require a writing course, often a speaking course, but then more from the basics, building on those basics. How do we make good decisions about the quality of the information that we have available to us? How do we become critical consumers of the vast amounts of information that are available to us, and how do we then use that information to solve the kinds of problems that we're facing? So when we graduate someone, we often want them to have some skills in a specific area, but we also want them to be able to have the capacity to be able to study, to learn, to make use of new information, to make judgments about whether that information is credible, appropriate, useful, applicable to the kind of problem that they're trying to solve. And those are lifelong skills that go beyond specific kind of techniques or technical skills that one might have. In a world that we live in today where it's information rich and it's ever changing and the pace of change is speeding up, we often hear this kind of conventional wisdom that says we're preparing students for jobs that haven't even been invented yet. And there's another statistic that gets thrown around in higher education that talks about the fact that many of our graduates will have between 10 and 14 different jobs by the time they reach 40 in that early parts of their careers. And they're going to have to be able to constantly update their own learning, make judgments about how to apply what they're learning, but also how to frame a good question and how to figure out what is the information that you need to answer that question. So these are lifelong skills that in today's fast-changing, ever-changing global society, students will need to be able to learn how to learn. From the day they graduate, they have to be able to keep learning.
I regularly tell people who ask me about this topic that liberal arts courses, to be successful, must have embedded within them not only the skill set to be taught in the course, but also those skills that employers are looking for in the 21st century. You mentioned some: how to think critically, how to communicate, how to be able to write, how to be able to solve problems in a real-world experience. Those sorts of things, to me, are the bedrock of a high-quality liberal arts program.
Well, and that's what employers tell us. There's a regular, every few years, there's a survey of CEOs in major companies in this country. And they say, what are those key skills that you want your graduates to have? And it's exactly what you mentioned. It's the critical thinking, it's problem solving, it's the ability to communicate effectively, and it's also the potential to be able to work collaboratively in groups and have groups come together who have various sets of expertise and be able to build solutions based on being able to communicate across disciplines to be able to apply those specific answers to the questions that they're working on.
I know you're remarkably proud of the work that's being done at Millersville, and that's great. Is there anything that you believe makes Millersville's liberal arts program a bit unique?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is that part of our liberal arts education includes some requirements that invite students to participate in both multicultural and interdisciplinary kinds of learning. So we actually teach courses that are focused on trying to bridge those different disciplines, trying to help students appreciate how to look at a particular problem from several different perspectives in order to think about solutions to complex problems. So that's one thing. The other thing that we've been doing creatively, I think, over the last couple of years has been looking at those multidisciplinary programs and creating multidisciplinary programs. We've had a long tradition of interdisciplinary programs, our international studies program, our emergency management program, and some of our minors in women's studies and in Latino studies and African American studies. But more recently, we've looked at things like entrepreneurship. And we brought together people in the arts and people in the sciences and people in business to think about how innovation is spurred by creative thinking, by creative problem solving, and by this cross-disciplinary kind of collaboration. We've also introduced recently a multidisciplinary studies degree that becomes the umbrella for students to be able to bring together a variety of disciplines. And so in that context, we have students who are engaging in research and application in the areas of disability studies, We have a new multidisciplinary program in digital journalism that brings together kind of traditional journalism with art and design and with the interactive modes and with the audio and video portions, because all of those things are converging. We have a new multidisciplinary program in entertainment technology that brings together the faculty and the expertise in our art and design and theater, light and sound area with the applied engineering faculty who are working on both the engineering aspects of it and the engineering safety of doing live entertainment and entertainment in large venues. So those are the kinds of things where you bring together the strengths of various kinds of expertise, but you learn how to develop a working vocabulary so that students can work with a whole variety of a team of people to attack complex problems and to do interesting things in the process.
Well, your passion shows.
Thank
and
you.
I really appreciate you not only being with us on Infinite Opportunities, but also shedding much needed light on a very important part of what we do in higher education in the world of the liberal arts, regardless of the degrees that our students are chasing at any given time, to hopefully transfer all of that learning and all of those skills to a very bright future. And Dr. Diane Zimmerman Umble, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
Discover the years that will change the rest of your life. Make East Stroudsburg University your new home. Come to a place that is home to different backgrounds, stories, and cultures that make us all unique. Embrace the chance to be a better friend, a better leader, a better you. Ignite your passions. Put your imagination to work in theater and the arts. Find victory. Shatter records. Chase your dreams. Be a warrior. Use your voice and share your visions. Create new ideas. Find professors and friends who will believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. Make the most of your ESU journey. Discover who you are and how you can make a difference. Discover ESU.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Mansfield University to see how a liberal arts education teaches students to gain flexibility and adaptability to prepare for their career challenges.
The primary advantage for Mansfield being a part of COPLAC is that it gives us a reference point. There's a lot of public universities in the country, and there's a lot of liberal arts-based universities in the country. But there's not a whole lot of small, public, liberal arts-based colleges.
Instead of education being something that focuses you, this is a VOTEC, this is a training school, right? If you want to go to school in order to become, you know, a vet tech or a respiratory tech or something along these lines, it focuses you out, right? So this is the idea of education as something that's limiting. Education is really a liberal education. A liberal arts education is the reverse of that.
Liberal arts grounded education is the kind of thing that gives you flexibility and adaptability over time. The world changes fast, and you have to adapt. At Mansfield, we have 4 years to teach somebody how to adapt, because chances are they're going to have 8 different careers in their lifetime. And that means that some of the jobs that will be around 20 and 30 and 40 years from now are jobs that nobody's ever even thought of at this point. How do we prepare somebody for that kind of job environment? That's what a liberal arts education does.
I came into Mansfield as a business major. The sports information department on campus here, they hire a photographer. And photography was a really deep passion of mine and has been for a long time, so I thought it was the perfect opportunity to kind of work and do something that I love doing while taking classes. We ended up learning how to do Photoshop and how to do video and everything just to make a better product for the departments. Mansfield has this great sort of balance between keeping you focused on what your major is, but also offering a broad spectrum of things to learn.
We may be a relatively small school, but we have a lot of clubs and organizations, sports teams and things like that, where students can, as a freshman, they can have an impact. And this is a way that they're kind of using some of their skills in terms of leadership. And they're learning this at an early stage, and they're practicing it essentially for 4 years. I think at Mansfield, the education that students get here prepares them very well for a wide variety of careers, which is really the most important thing in terms of student outcomes. That we want students to be able to take a Mansfield degree and to be able to adapt to whatever careers, have the flexibility to take on new jobs and new challenges over the next 50 years of their working life and perhaps even beyond.
I made the decision to say, well, I could be one of 70,000 students, or I could try my luck and do the one-on-one thing that this school offers. It's the one-on-one. That's the magic. The professors here, the teachers here, from the president to the dean of students, they all have an investment in every student that comes to this campus. And so all of them were kind of guiding my career the whole time I was here, as they were guiding everybody else's career. I was a tattered mess when I came to Mansfield, and I left here as a television marketing executive. What happened during those 4 years? How do you get from A to B? And that's the magic of this school. That is the magic of this place, that you can come in as at the bottom of the barrel and leave with rocket fuel in your back pocket to accomplish anything.
Lock Haven University. Small class sizes and the courses you need to achieve your dreams. The perfect environment to turn your passion into real success in the real world. Lock Haven University. We've got you covered. The Haven.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Bloomsburg University to discover how students put their communications class skills to use by helping businesses in the community.
What made me want to take the multimedia class is pretty much because I wanted to design my own website. So I figured it was a good place to start, good place to learn.
In the class, we got to work with a client out in Berwick. I worked with the Berwick Theater, and I got to build them a website, as well as now work on my own website.
The skills I've learned throughout the class were basic Dreamweaver skills. I learned HTML tags and stuff like that. Also working with clients. I worked with a lady, her name was Jenny Craig. She works for Berwick United Way. So we helped her create a WordPress website. And there's definite improvement on social skills, working with people who already own a business and students like ourselves.
I actually like this class a lot because it's not just all technical skills. We learn how to, work with other people. We had a client, like I said, so we have to learn professional skills like how to email them and how to talk with them on the phone and have personal face-to-face meetings. So I like that aspect of it.
I think it'll ultimately help me in the future because it rounds us as students, basically enabling us to work with people who are already professionals. And since it's something that's already intensive, such as website design, you're going to be working with a lot of people in the future if this is what you like to do.
This is the first time I got to work with a client, so I think it's prepared me in that level, just having to talk to someone in the professional field, having to meet someone's needs and desires and what they want. So I think that helped me for the future.
I wake up at 2:30 every morning to start my day. I'll shoot a live segment, then minutes later go out to cover something in the community. Even on the hardest days, I always remember being in my Clarion dorm room and just hoping that this exact moment would happen. No matter what I do, no matter how far I go, I always think about my Clarion professors and how they helped make me the confident woman I am today.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Shippensburg University to see how liberal arts skills can be applied in many career applications.
So being here at Shippensburg, I'd have to say the biggest thing for me is that I feel like a person and not a number. You're not just born to pay bills and go away after a while. You're here for a reason, and this place has helped me figure out what my reason is. You can pick something that you're really into. It's not just college, college isn't meant to get you a job. You're here to develop yourself and figure out just what you're capable of.
Liberal arts aims to provide students with educational experiences that just broaden their knowledge base, broaden their horizons, and give them a set of tools that they take with them into the world. Critical thinking, problem solving, the ability to filter knowledge, the ability to synthesize new knowledge. All of those require a base of knowledge from which to select. They require a skill to go out and gain new knowledge, and liberal arts really aims to do just that.
I think that we give our liberal arts graduates a lot of skills, and certainly they get these in many, many fields, but the liberal arts specifically are going to be focusing on the ones that help students deal with people or with problems. So we have a lot of focus on communication skills and writing skills.
I'm going to quote Dr. Liu. He always says that life is a mystery and you never know where you're going to end up, and college is the perfect place to start to figure that out. So a liberal arts degree, in my opinion, is a wonderful foundation in terms of communicating with people, bettering yourself.
I think one of the undertold stories in Pennsylvania is how much of a value-added education you could get at Shippensburg University. An employer tends to say to somebody, okay, there's X number of graduates coming out of Pennsylvania schools bearing your degrees. What is it that sets you apart?
We have a lot of collaborative assignments and projects, for instance, in our classes. Employers always say, we want people who can work in a team. And we do that every day in the liberal arts. That is something that it's part of what we do. So students have to come together, they have to sit down, they're different majors, they come with different skill sets, but it's like, here's our project, how are we gonna solve this problem? And then they do. That's what they do every day.
Something that concerns me as a dean of the College of Arts and Sciences is that people will often misjudge what it is that you gain from coming to a liberal arts school to get your degree, because there's not a strong association of the degree title with a job. And one of the things we're working very hard to do is to help students associate those career pathways, not just jobs, but career pathways, with the educational experience that they've had here.
So there are all these new jobs as well that our students are really poised well to take over. Students don't quite sometimes see how good of a fit they are. They underestimate the skills that they're getting with a liberal arts education.
Investing in yourself is one of the best things that you can do. College isn't just a place you go to get a piece of paper that says, oh, I can do something and I can earn money. It's something that you do when you want to better yourself. If you're looking for an investment and one that will stick with you, this is for you, for sure.
Slippery Rock was my first choice.
My best choice.
Because they have what I wanted to study.
What I wanted to study.
I love my major.
I love the professors. It's so much more.
So much more than a class. There's a tradition of success.
Leadership.
Community service. Helping me through my major and bringing about success for my future.
Slippery Rock has shown me the world.
The Rock prepared me for my job.
Slippery Rock University.
Experience the difference.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Westchester University to find out how studying literature throughout history helps students understand the importance of literature today.
In English 270, students study the evolution of the written word, from medieval manuscripts to its electronic transformations of present day. In doing so, they study the histories of authorship, reading, and publishing, as well as subfields such as censorship and literacy. What they gain in the process is an eye-opening understanding of the book and similar written forms, not only as cultural artifacts, but also cultural agents.
To
Today, books are printed at the touch of a few buttons, but in the past, assembly was a much more complicated process that involved skillful hands, special materials, and countless days of corrections. Medieval manuscripts are the epitome of this craft, and the Book of Kells, a large gospel book created by monks in medieval Ireland, particularly demonstrates what some consider the fine art of assembling and preparing a manuscript for viewing and treasuring pleasures over reading comprehension. To understand this art, I researched a manuscript's value in medieval times in terms of labor and cultural worth, the intricate procedure to make them, including Kells, and the emotional effect still created on readers and viewers today.
English 270 presented me with a lot of fascinating opportunities for a final project. I was especially taken with the class session held at Aurelia Press, in which we observed the intricate art of hand printing. The same attention to painstaking detail, labor, and artistic form that characterized the hand press drew me to work on constructing the publication history of Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and the ways in which the novel's editors and its public reception transformed the text beyond Kerouac's original vision.
So, Lauren, after all the work of setting the type, putting the type in the press, inking up the press, we finally arrived at that moment where we can print the type. And that's what we've done.
The spread of new forms of media are often perceived to be threatening by some, and comic books prove to be no different. My research on the censorship of comic books in the era known as post-war America highlighted the social, cultural, and political movements that led to the creation and implementation of the comic book codes. In examining the impact this system of censorship had on the culture of comic books and their publishing, I illustrated that the controversy surrounding the censorship of comic books demonstrates their significance as vessels of culture, ultimately proving their rightful and integral place in the study of book history.
As a future educator in the field of literature, I view keeping up with publishing trends and reading habits as necessary to teach literature in the modern age. Plus, my own interest in writing professionally means that keeping up with how the publishing industry is changing today can help me get published tomorrow. So I undertook a project that asked whether the e-book was the kiss of death or the breath of life. What my studies found is that the e-book is not transforming readers into electronic readers, but rather it's diversifying the readers into both traditional and electronic readers. The e-books have developed a growth in readership by complementing the book.
These projects demonstrate not only the immense richness of book history, but also the ways in which this field helps us to navigate the digital transformations marking our own society. We would like to invite those across campus, as well as those in the community, to join us in research and intellectual exchange at our Center for Book History.
Come back next week to learn more of the infinite opportunities at the state system's 14 universities, or visit us online